My name is Omil Deckoks. I'm an environmental planner and I'm also uh, the national coordinator of an initiative called Girls Paint Africa Green Kenya. I'm also a member in a platform called Kenya Platform on Climate Governance and a subgroup which is Climate Finance. Under this we seek to improve the capacity of civil society organizations to be able to access climate finance and be able to effectively adapt and mitigate climate change. Climate change, in simple terms, is just the alteration of the average weather conditions over a long period of time. In relation to deforestation, we will say climate change has been caused by a rise in the number of carbon emissions into the atmosphere, which is indirectly linked to the cutting of trees, which is deforestation. I can say there are a number of processes that contribute to these emissions, but deforestation stands high up the ladder. Deforestation is caused by a number of activities, but the one that stands out currently is increase in populations without proper planning. So this has led to other unsustainable practices such as deforestation to be able to create settlement units. There's also deforestation to clear land for cultivation, and there's also deforestation as a result of populations encroaching into forest reserves. The one that tops the list, I think, and has been a real issue recently is water scarcity. Because as a country we are water stressed, and this has been indirectly linked to the destruction of the water towers. The Mau forest, for instance, is one of our critical water towers, and it has been encroached, and deforestation has really done a lot of damage. As we know, forest cover improves water retention, improves purification of air, and is mostly also a source of rivers. So in that sense, you find with the destruction of our water towers, there is water stress that is also increased, and in that sense also you find indirect effects of that, where there are conflicts as people try to look for regions where they are able to find water and also food. We should really put a lot of emphasis on this unsustainable practice that is deforestation, because even statistics show that we are able to reduce carbon emissions to the tune of 37% if we manage to improve our global tree cover. So if you look at it in that perspective, and the contribution that is brought by a lack of adequate tree cover to climate change, then I think it is only right that we collaboratively work towards improving not only the global tree cover but also at national level, such as our country, Kenya. It is possible, but even as it is possible, there are a number of roles that I think each and every one of us has to play. I think, for instance, where you find citizens always talk about the government being the one that should be able to spearhead such, but I think it should be an initiative from each and every individual. If you have that opportunity, if you're able to develop such an initiative, then you're on the right path. There are examples that I think have been realized, such as one in the Mount Kenya region. I think there are some women groups who are being assisted to acquire seedlings for these trees, and they're also they're able to plant and grow them over time, and they're also able to sell these seedlings and acquire income for their needs. So I think working from the government level, working with these groups at the local level is important. And for instance, I will talk about maybe the women groups and youth groups. For instance, the women groups, I think women and girls are the ones who are directly in tune with the environment, because they're the ones that get food, they're the ones that get water from maybe the rivers and so on. So they are more in tune to be able to understand the issues that will come up as a result of deforestation. So getting these groups at the local level and getting them to understand the importance of afforestation and importance of planting and growing trees is I think is good. It should reach a point where we separate politics and and science, because science has shown us that there is that direct link. Because when you have trees, you're able to tap the carbon, which is indirectly causing global warming and to a wider extent climate change. So when somebody comes and says there is no way the cutting of trees is linked to global warming, then I think that's a fallacy. So forest ecosystems have a big role to play in terms of mitigating climate change, which is reducing the greenhouse gases, more specifically the carbon emissions. You find that, for instance, it has been projected that if we meet our targets for tree cover globally, then we're able to contribute greatly to mitigating climate change to the tune of 37%. For instance, the mangrove ecosystem, the statistics show that they reduce carbon emissions 4 times more than rainforest. So for instance, like recently I noticed there was a reverse on the ban that was initially placed on logging of mangrove trees. If you look at it in that sense, I don't think the reversal of the ban was well informed, because in as much as they lack livelihood opportunities, I think the government would have come in terms of providing alternative sources of livelihood, staining the ban on logging of these mangrove trees. As at now, Kenya, we are projecting to increase our efforts on reducing our carbon emissions to the tune of 30% by the year 2030. I would say efforts have been made, because at 1963, I think we were at 10%. That dwindled through to 6.6, I think, in 2006. Right now we are at 7%. But efforts that have been made by the CS, Keriako Tobiko, I think are commendable. More importantly, the ban on logging, which has reduced these unsustainable initiatives where people go into forests and cut trees without replenishing them. And also recently we had the import duty on timber having been reduced from 10% to 0. So I think that is also an effort, I think, that is commendable, because then you reduce the costs of importing timber, and also you reduce the process of deforestation within the country. I feel it is important that that communities, for instance, you find communities such as the Ogiek who are found in the Mau forest. I think they have been part of the forest for the longest time. have been able to find ways where they positively interact with the environment. So it is important that the government does not shun these communities, because they're indigenous and they are part of the forest ecosystem. So the government should ensure that they train these communities on how they should sustainably get resources from the forest and to live in harmony. Land as a resource, in a way, in my opinion, I would say it's not limited. I think the manner in which we utilize land is actually the problem. Because you find, like, in water towers such as the Mau, there are communities that have encroached the forest. Maybe they have done it for maybe cultivating the land for food and so on, but you find this happens at the expense of tree cover that they cut to be able to develop these land parcels. So I think, in my opinion, maybe we should be able to merge the two, such that in as much as you cultivate land for food, you should also be able to put to secure a part of that land for the planting and growing of trees. For the communities such as the Ogiek, I think initially there was the shamba system where you're allocated a parcel of land, you're able to plant and grow trees, but you're also able to cultivate the same land for food. Yeah, so I think such a system will be able to work, supported with the right policies and legislation. Of importance is we should also be able to identify the native species within that particular region, such that you don't bring a tree species that is not in tune with the climatic conditions of that particular region, because, like, you found that people just bring trees for planting and growing in areas where they were initially not there. For instance, like in the colonial era, you find the British colonialists were exploiting certain types of trees without replenishing, and in the event that they would replenish, or they would get other tree species to replenish the ones that they had cut, they will bring tree species that are not native to this particular regions. Yeah. So you find in the long term they are not able to grow to maturity, and their value is not actually seen. So yeah, I think initiatives that improve on planting native species to native tree species to these regions is also a critical point to consider. It should be a mix between individuals, their initiatives, institutions, and the government. In as much as the leadership is expected from the government through policy legislations and direction from the ministry, as a people at the community level, and maybe people who are owning or are running civil society organizations and maybe non-governmental organizations, they should be able to take the initiative to ensure that in their own spaces they prioritize tree planting and growing. And also for the private sector, private enterprises should also not only incorporate them in their CSR programs, but also they should be able to ensure that in the development of their products and services, they should be cognizant of climate change and the contribution that is brought by unsustainable practices to the environment. Government uh, should 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 make this issue more relatable to the common mwananchi. They should be able to assist in developing the capacity of these actors to, for instance, understand through knowledge transfer and maybe technological advancements. They should be able to also understand and capacity build them on how they are able to access finances to maybe develop this tree, access these tree seedlings. And also, for instance, a target group such as the youth should be put at the forefront of this, and they should be supported in ways that the government thinks appropriate. And I think with the collaboration of all these actors, I think we can be able to make the 10% tree cover and even higher than this a reality. Under the leadership of the government, I think we should ensure that we work together, all partners, the public sector, the private sector, and also non-governmental, non-state actors. I think we should be able to work together towards developing a culture where we see the importance of planting and growing trees with the wider picture of the target that we have set as a country, which is 10%. And also of importance, I think, is the government through the local actors, maybe the county government should take the initiative of training and facilitating knowledge transfer at the local level, such that even the rural area can be able to relate and understand why we need an improved forest cover, and why how that is relatable to maybe that particular river that was passing down there and as dried up. The most important is we should ensure that we facilitate effective stakeholder engagement from the government down to the Wanjiku at the local level. I think it is important that we work together towards our target, which is 10% by 2022, which I feel is doable if we all work smart towards.